så läcker i Bromma. Chante Mikael Morgan. SS just som charmant.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Cult Film Review. I am your host, Cody Everett. This week we are talking about Man Bites Dog. It is a Belgian film. It has a lot of controversial stuff that we'll get into. So, you know what? Let's just start the show.
Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex? Klopex. Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey guys, this week we are talking about Man Bites Dog. This film has it's very widely praised. I'll tell you that. It is definitely a cult film because I had to look it up afterwards because I questioned this at first. I kind of want to leave this to an open discussion rather than directing questions, just because there is a lot going on, and I feel like this is more of a mood movie than the last one that we talked about, which was Buffalo 66. I don't know. Again, this is one of those movies where I started off hating the character, and by the end of it, I didn't start loving the characters, like either.
So you still hated them?
I
hated them the whole way through.
Yeah.
Just all hate.
What
did you like about it?
Okay, hate's a strong word. Here's my problem with the movie.
What's
right?
the story? Let's tell the story.
That's kind of my problem and kind of where I was going. Thanks. Can I have a second?
Sure.
Thank you. No, it does. The story is basically a film crew following a serial killer who is charming, and basically they join in with him by the end of the film. I don't really find that there's really a driving force in the story. Am I wrong? Did I miss it?
A driving force.
I think what I'm missing is
because I feel like I'm the odd man out on this one, where I'm the entertainment lover. And I love, like, dinosaurs that turn into fucking robots and shit. You know what I mean? Like, big explosions and stuff like that. And then watching this film, I was not entertained.
Yeah, if you're taking enjoyment out of this film, there's something fucking wrong with you.
well, now hold on a second, because we'll get to that. I mean, there is some kind of enjoyment. People don't watch this movie to come out of it hating it. I don't think that's the purpose of watching it.
I think maybe Mike was getting at people watch it to study it and learn film, maybe.
Yeah, this is more of a commentary on society and violence and how it relates to humanity than I think it is a film that's like, hey, this was exciting. What a great, exciting scene. Like, it's not.
But what films had shown you this perspective before at all? Like, we've all know about the serial killer. Like, we've seen it in many different ways, done many different ways, but this was totally documentary style. Like, so what they were trying to get you to do, I think, is to try to get you to identify with this serial killer.
Oh, absolutely. It's not like that. What I'm saying is that it's not something that it's not like I wouldn't say a Michael Bay film, but it's not.
That's fine. You can say Michael Bay's name.
People
go to see Michael Bay films.
He listens.
It's not mindless.
And yeah, it's not mindless.
Yeah.
You go into this thinking, and you come out probably thinking a lot more.
Yeah.
See, and that's kind of where I differ. I came out of this like, okay. Like, I really didn't come out of it thinking more or less. I thought poor execution as far as, in my opinion, storytelling. I didn't enjoy it. Like, there's nothing that I found appealing about any of the characters where I was like, oh, I care about any single one of these people.
You're not real. I don't think you're supposed to. Well,
no, you are supposed to care about them.
There is
that's the whole
level
point. That's the whole point of the story. The whole point of the whole point of the film is to, like Chris said, the whole point of the film is to basically test audiences and find out what they're willing to accept and what they're willing to agree with and be okay with this person. Oh, he's very charming. I like him a lot. And it basically forces the audience to think to themselves, why the hell do I like this guy so much? He's killing all these people. That was the point of it.
I never found myself liking him.
Okay, first off, I don't know why everybody keeps using the word charming. There's nothing charming about this guy.
I think
he's charismatic.
I think he does come off very charismatic.
He
charms the film crew into doing, like, helping him with murders.
Wait, charms them or scares the bejesus
By
out
the
of
end
them?
of it, they're doing it free will, with free will.
Yeah, but is it because out of fear? You
no,
know, like
not at all.
Hitler
But-
was charismatic too, but I wouldn't say he was charming.
Have you ever met him?
Have I ever met Hitler? No, I didn't. I just didn't get a chance.
What would make somebody charming? I mean, he obviously has female friends. I mean, and that he kind of and you know,
I was alluded that to me like Jenny, I believe was her name.
No, Violet. I don't
No,
know.
I'm talking about the hooker that he first banged a long time ago.
Oh, the blonde-haired lady?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I got the impression of, is that she was a hooker that he had sex with throughout the years,
got
and then he
something,
just started
yeah.
taking care of her.
I never thought that for some reason. I can see that, but I thought
Because why
I thought
else
they
would
were
he know
just,
about like the bed with the tanning? Like that's where I was getting from.
He's a
and he said, "Look, that's when I knew her when she was young. That's when I first met her."
Yeah.
So, and everything about her apartment pretty much screams, like, who has a tanning bed in their bed? Like,
Right.
come on.
Right. She was probably a prostitute.
Probably at one point.
I think the thing about this character, he's definitely sad, and that's where we get the empathy for him or the sympathy for him.
Yes.
Is because he actually desperately wants friends. Like, even though he's a sociopathic killer who's a racist and a homophobe, like, and he's a bully, like, he's sad when what's her name dies, Victoria or something like that, or
it's the
girlfriend.
flute player.
right, the flute player, and his parents obviously too. He loves his parents.
Yeah, and that's
know?
why where I think they tried to get you to go along with him and identify with him.
But then
is
That's why the film
showing him
opens.
with his parents, the relationship he has with his parents, you know, like how he can just be kind of this normal person or this person that everybody thinks they know.
But as
but
far
I didn't care. I like, for me, like, I didn't care. I didn't like him at all, so why would I care about the people that he cared about?
okay, did any of us like Vincent Gallo in Buffalo '66?
I would say
Because
that
I feel like
Me and Chris did.
that character is more likable than this
right,
character.
he is. That character
Way more.
is a bully as well, but this guy's magnified by 10. I
Yeah,
think.
but here's
this
the-
guy is
here's-
way
here's
worse.
the
'cause
di-
he'll just shoot you in the
And
head.
I did think about the difference between Buffalo 66 and this film with the main character, because in a way they are similar. They're all very self-centered about themselves. But the difference is that in Buffalo 66, Vincent Gallo's character Billy was innocent. Like that's why
this guy is
That's why you can
guilty to a
forgive
T,
yourself.
I mean.
That's why you can forgive yourself to care about him.
But
Like-
there are moments where the character Benoit, right?
Ben.
Yes.
Ben.
Yeah.
But there are moments when the character Ben does offer like some wisdom about love.
He's got some.
He's a poet.
Yeah, he's got some really poetic things
Yeah.
to say throughout this whole film, you know, and I think maybe this is what maybe not American Psycho, but kind of what it tried to do was like try to get the serial killer to blend in, or like what you were saying with Hannibal, like the serial killer can be likable, and it would probably be his benefit to be likable so people don't suspect him.
Yeah.
And I feel like he really carried it off well, and I found points in the film where I was like, I did care somewhat for his character, even though he was ruthless and bad, and I would never want to know this person. The way they filmed it, the way they made you, the viewer, like almost like you were a part of the film crew. Like you started, hanging around him more, started becoming desensitized to the things that he was doing, and I could see the genius in telling the story this way. And I don't think we had seen this done with a serial killer from this point of view.
Not up to this point. I
Yeah.
don't think so. No. I don't. I do want to clarify. I don't think there was really a point where I could honestly say that. I mean, I liked the character. I never had that full connection that happened. I can see how the way it's shot and how the way it's presented, that it's supposed to get the viewer to like him. You know, but I never felt like I really gave a shit about what's happening, because he's a piece of shit.
Here's the thing, and it's going on to what you said. I think what it is if you humanize anybody, even the most evil people, you have a natural human tendency to want to empathize or sympathize with that person. I mean, it's the same thing with like Breaking Bad. That was a big argument throughout the entire thing, was how could people be rooting for this guy when he does so many horrible things throughout the show? And if you do, like, what does that say about you?
Yeah.
You know, and this film, this guy's even worse. He's even worse than Walt is. I mean, this guy is a sociopathic killer who has a very loose law book that he runs by. He doesn't like killing kids, but he will. You know?
Yeah.
He doesn't like killing people for no reason. He says innocents. He doesn't like killing innocents, but guilty people are apparently just people who have money, like have something for him.
Yeah.
He'll kill you for your shoes, and he'll say, well, you shouldn't have had good shoes.
Right.
Like, he's a dick.
Yeah.
No.
So what slowed me down with the story though is do they ever really explain why this camera crew is connected to him?
No.
I mean, other than what you can gather is that they want to do this breakthrough documentary on a sociopath. I mean, why does anybody want to follow? Why did anybody do what was that one on HBO? Why did
That doesn't bother you though? They didn't explain why the crew really wants to do it though.
I think in terms of art, it's pretty obvious why they would want to do it. Is he not an interesting character? Why wouldn't you want to do a documentary?
Because he's serial killer.
Because you'd be like an accessory to murder.
Serial killer, and I wouldn't want to film him shooting people.
But there are documentaries on serial killers all the time, and they talk about it.
It's totally different.
Different than following them.
There's not documentaries, of watching somebody actually go around killing people.
Okay, I have a question. Why does Eli Roth do torture films?
I can't speak for him.
But why would anyone watch him then?
I don't know.
So if there's an audience that will watch it, there's somebody that will make that.
Yeah, but the point I think I was getting at, why I'm surprised that it didn't bother you that there was no explanation, because that would be a form of bad writing, basically.
No.
Because it's the exact same argument we had last night.
Yep.
Hold on. But
with the last episode, because they didn't explain why.
They actually
Christina
totally explain why. There are multiple times where every single time a sound guy gets shot, he says, when are we going to be over with these things? We'll never have enough. Like, they're obviously intrigued by the character. I don't understand why you wouldn't think that somebody would want to make a documentary on a serial killer.
I can understand why you want to make. I can understand making a documentary on a serial killer. I can't understand following a serial killer around as he is committing murders. That I can't agree with.
Well, obviously, because it's like snuff film, so it's it's absurdist.
Yeah,
but you can't tell me that there's not a motivation for doing it.
And maybe
because if it's commentary on reality shows, why does anybody want to watch a disaster?
This also may explain it too. Is that it is the way that I've read it is explained as a dark comedy.
Well, yeah, it's a dark comedy, of course.
So
I didn't get the comedy feel right away, but I think I did started towards the end. I started to understand.
It clicked for me when there was like the second sound guy got killed. It was like, this is like
I
a
didn't even
realize.
Maybe this is my thing too, and it's maybe because again I'm an American. I feel that way. I didn't even realize that multiple sound guys died.
Yeah, I got a serious Spinal Tap vibe from it, because it was like
I didn't
one
even
sound guy
realize it.
died, and it was like this really touching moment with the director talking to the camera. Then the next sound guy dies, and then it's like half of him talking and then half of watching this guy still killing more people, like intercut with these scenes.
Then there's also that scene where he comes in contact with another serial killer, and then they have a film crew, and he's like, "Look at this big camera," and they're like, "We should steal this," and they're like, "No, that's video. We do film."
I loved that.
That's a hysterical line, because it's like, "Oh well, guess what? We get to shoot them now."
He just immediately smashes it. It's like he doesn't even take a beat. He just throws it to the ground, and then they kill everyone.
Right.
It's crazy because it does have such a serious mood to it, but
oh man, yeah.
But then it's like towards the end, like I said, you start really getting that comedy element, especially when he's in the hospital and his parents are sitting around him, and that guy next to him is pooping his pants, and he's like screaming, "Did you caca? Did you caca?" like over and over again, and just berating like the poor helpless man in the bed.
Yeah,
he's obviously senile.
So funny, right?
Dude, I really think that was supposed to be a humorous scene.
No, it definitely was supposed. It was definitely supposed to be, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't get the comedy. I didn't get it.
Did the violence bother you?
No, I was actually bored by the violence in this movie.
Yeah,
bored.
It's very, very tame compared to what I've seen.
The violence is not the scariest part of this film for me. For me, the scariest part of this film is the implications of this crew slowly but surely helping this guy out and then starting to enjoy themselves. Because what it's essentially, I feel this film says as a whole is, see this asshole, you hate him, but with just a little push, any one of us in this room could be this guy. whether it be through fear or maybe there's something deep inside everyone that kind of wants to be this dude. It's a scary thought that you could see regular people all of a sudden taking part in these atrocities.
Yeah.
But that's what... See, that's the weird... I guess that's another thing where I don't connect with it. I didn't connect with that. Like, I get what you're saying, and I definitely think that like is probably the point of the film, but it doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah. I think the only way that I can, in my mind, explain why the film crew would even go into it, I don't think it's out of fear or anything. I think it's just like Stockholm Syndrome, and they're just... I feel like that's exactly what's happening.
Well, I mean, isn't part of Stockholm Syndrome fear and that turns into love?
I don't know the exact definition.
I mean, I feel like that has a lot to do with it. It's that fear that keeps going, and then you start seeing your captor as being that who giveth, I can taketh away, and then all of a sudden it's like all I have to do is appease him.
Yeah.
And now I love you because you give me all these great things like my life and the ability to breathe. Like I feel like that's part of Stockholm Syndrome. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit.
I don't think that he bullied them. I think they just.
But he's such a bully.
You know what? I can't say
he bullies them to go eat mussels.
My biggest problem with this movie is I don't think any aspect of this film is believable.
There's not
as a documentary.
Well,
it was so staged, and it's so staged and so written out. I don't feel genuine fear from any character in this movie.
No, dude,
it doesn't come across.
The moment that there's 600 gunshots that go off and not one police officer ever shows up, anywhere, like that took me out of the film. I gotta admit that because I'm like, this dude just on the street just clocking people. Okay. Cool.
Right, but there's an absurdist element to this film.
And that's the dark comedy part of it. Which, but still, at the same time, I'm like, well, still not funny. So
hold on. First of all, we need to let's clarify something.
Mix well for me.
A comedy doesn't necessarily mean ha ha ha. Let's laugh all the time.
No, I agree, but it can make you chuckle inside or something like that.
But there are some moments that make you chuckle a little bit, right?
No, I was pretty deadpan on this movie.
Really?
I gotta be honest.
There was no part where you were kind of like, huh?
Like, that I can think of,
like
honestly.
When they killed the film crew, no one else thought that was kind
of
funny.
I thought it was stupid. I was like, oh, there's another serial killer in the same town.
I didn't think the situation was funny that there was another serial killer with another film
Yes,
crew.
Like that's a situational.
I think if this film,
I didn't find that funny.
If this film had a different soundtrack, you'd probably feel differently about
what
it.
What soundtrack?
Yeah, if it was something like that was like triggering.
I barely heard any music in this whole movie.
There's
not.
There's
barely any.
Music.
There is music, but I can't remember a note of it because there's this much.
And maybe this
How'd that go?
Maybe this is a disconnect with audiences. Like, maybe where was this film? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Belgium.
Okay, so maybe in Belgium, this is a type of humor that people might understand.
Don't get me wrong. I see what people see in it, but I cannot make those same connections. And that's the problem I have with this movie. I see what people see in this movie. I see and I think a lot of it too has to do with timing of this movie. Because while we're saying, me and Kyle, that we're bored by the violence in it, it's because we've seen a lot more now further in time. In 1992, when this came out, this was probably violent as hell.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
It was NC-17.
I saw this film, when did I see it? 2003 or 2004 is when I saw this film. And when I saw particularly the rape scene that ends in a murder, I was immensely disturbed by it. And the killing of the child. I was very disturbed. And I told myself I was never going to see the film, despite the fact that I kind of liked the film. It was just one of those films where I was like, I could really go without ever seeing this again, because it really disturbed me. Upon watching it a second time, I was far more desensitized to it. And maybe that's because that's 10 years now that I've had to see other things.
This is part of this is actually like, it's kind of cool. It's full circle, because in the society we live now, where it's such a media focused, like we're used to seeing so many atrocities and horrible things shoved down our throat on TV and in media and online and everything. This movie isn't. Like, it doesn't strike you because it's like, well, okay. Like, I just saw some dude shoot 2 people on TV yesterday.
Like,
so
what?
And I read way eviler shit on Reddit than
no, it's
this
true.
dude is saying.
I'll tell you right now, the part where he hits that woman in the head and she starts convulsing on the ground, it's like, oh, I've seen that on Wolf Star. Like, you know what I mean? I've seen knockouts like that.
Yeah.
World Star Hip Hop.
No,
or
it's
something.
true. So I think that's another disconnect where I'm having is like I think when this came out, probably in 1992, I don't know. I don't remember the release of this. It wasn't very big in my town. I'm sure that a lot of people were like, "Holy fuck!"
It was put up there.
This is crazy.
It was put up there with like Reservoir Dogs in terms of violence, because Reservoir Dogs was extremely violent when it first came out.
But yeah, if you watch that film now, you're not like, oh my god.
It's like, I mean,
you know?
even the ear cut scene in Reservoir Dogs, like the thing I'm thinking about more is like the fucking song that's playing. Like, that's a good song.
Yeah, it was a really good.
I'm just saying that maybe that's an issue that I'm having with this film too, as a disconnect, because, you know, I can see when this. If I would have saw this when this came out in 1992, I'm sure my mind would have been blown and I would have been affected in a different way by this movie emotionally.
Yes, I think so.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
But watching it in 2015, and just seeing, like, I feel like I see a lot of flaws in the fact that, again, it's just like it is so absurd to the point to where you should be laughing, but I wasn't laughing.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say I was chuckling through the whole thing. I'm just saying there was a lightness to it. There was a levity to it.
But
I was here when he
right.
was watching. He was laughing the whole time.
You're right.
No,
there's a
that.
total absurdity to the whole thing of like cops never showing up. I don't know how many bodies he dumps in that quarry over and over and over again.
Right.
That was
Like,
pretty funny when the quarry was drained.
And then it goes dry, and then they have to, and then he's yelling at the guys like, "You gotta cover
like,
it up."
there's
Like,
I can still see a leg.
There's things that's like that are so absurd that they could have played funny, but they played it in a serious way. And
well, I think that's what makes this a dark.
Yeah,
comedy,
to make it
you know what I mean?
to make it. I just don't agree with that direction. To me personally, it's not what I like in film. You know, that's pretty much it. And when we get back, we're going to talk more about Man Bites Dog, or does the dog bite the man? I don't know. We'll find out when we get back.
Je te dégoûte, je te Oh, je te dégoûte, dis-le. Allez, je te dégoûte avec mes défauts. Non, non. Cinéma, cinéma, oui, je sens qui je suis. Cinéma, 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 de salle en salle et de film en film. Je t'ai donné mon existence. Et toi, Gabin, fils de Lucien, le cinéma fait de toi un...
Hey guys, welcome back. We are talking about Man Bites Dog. What do we leave off on? Where do we leave off? Or do we want to start on a new topic?
Why don't we go into what we disliked? I think we all kind of talked about what we kind of liked about it. Why don't we talk about what we disliked about it?
Did I?
You might have.
I
been
don't
the
remember
the
that
one
part.
big dissenter.
I may have missed
But
that.
no, there are some pretty.
Cody, it's your time to shine.
There are some pretty negative things that I could say about the film.
Like?
One is the progression of the story. It starts off like a narrative, and then kind of towards the middle, it becomes just a series of spectacles.
Yes.
And then by the end, it kind of like finishes off back to the character. Like
See,
towards the middle, it's just like rape, kill, 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 kill. It's just like it just goes on and on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, the family dies, and then all of a sudden, we get back into this guy.
I also kind of disagree where it's about him at the end of the film, though. I feel like it's more about the filmmakers and them turning into like him.
Oh sure.
That's the weird thing about it. Like
I don't know that you're right. I don't think he's the main character because
I don't.
Who are the storytellers? The storytellers are, in fact, obviously the film crew, as being characters in the film. I mean, that's not something that you normally see in a mockumentary like Spinal Tap. You don't see the filmmaker come back around the camera and say, "Oh my God, this is how I'm reacting to this." So
yeah, the director of the documentary was in many scenes hanging out with them.
True.
Oh, but was he like a major? Like, was the influence of the band being affected on him?
No.
Like, was it him?
No,
reacting to the band, or was it the band was the main?
No, I'm just breaking it down to the most simplest terms as you described.
Okay,
I
shouldn't have said that the director wasn't in the scenes. What I mean to say is that the film crew, it cuts a lot to the film crew and their reactions and how they're responding to everything.
Yeah.
So really, the killer is kind of like the catalyst to like the story, and the storytellers are in fact the main characters. Might just be the people behind the camera.
Well, I feel like the main characters behind the camera have more of an end game than rather he does. Because what's his end game?
Nothing, just to continue
nothing.
murder.
This guy
there's really no driving force for him except for this film.
I mean, he even says it early in the film when the guy starts kicking, when they lose their first sound guy and he starts kicking the guy on the ground that shot his sound guy. He even says to him, he's like, "Oh, revenge, not something that we do." And even after he's gotten his what I assume is his closest thing to a girlfriend that he has, and his family gets killed, they even ask, "What are you going to do next?" And he's like, "I don't know, run somewhere else." Like, he has no interest in like getting revenge on these Italians who have killed his family and all of his loved ones, because in his mind he's like, "No, I live to kill," and I'm just.
Well, he has the whole speech about always going for the easy kill, and that's why they convince him to go to the suburbs. Because...
Right, and then it turns out to be a disaster.
Yeah,
essentially, because there's nothing to steal.
He had to kill a kid, and the house was like empty. It had nothing valuable in it.
Yeah, just credit cards that were useless to him.
Yeah.
So I mean,
call the cops right now. I like those lines. He that's some humor that I found too. Is that the way he would respond to certain situations? You know, he was always so confident in everything he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he definitely, because he never thought he was going to get busted, and then when he does, he just breaks out of jail.
Yeah. Which never really gets explained as to how he did it.
No,
just gets a call. I broke out of jail.
It's just,
come pick me up.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem.
So there's that negative thing. The other negative thing that I have to say, because it's been made a big thing now, and I've been looking at particular scenes. The Game of Thrones, there's been a lot of criticism as to how much do we have to show horrible people doing horrible things like rape, and whether or not they're necessary to actually reinforce how horrible this guy was. So that rape scene, which is one of the worst, it's really, I think it's horrible.
Yeah,
because of what results from it too.
Sure,
they gut her.
Yeah,
I mean, was that really necessary, or was that just a spectacle to be like, this is how far we're going to take this? I thought it was understood, like, okay, yeah, the crew is.
I think something like that,
participating.
Like, going back to what you're saying though, with like Game of Thrones, I think to an extent you have to kind of do that, because if you're investing however many seasons they are into Game of Thrones, and you're dealing with these characters day to day, if you don't continuously add these moments of true violence and horridness, you're going to actually end up liking that character, which is the opposite of what the writers want to have happen. They want you to hate this character.
Right. But I guess
so it reinforces that. So this scene was there. This scene, the rape scene, is perfectly timed, because up until that point, you really are starting to not me personally, but I could see how the audience member would really start to kind of like this guy. They had drinking games. They were like doing all this shit, and then this scene is thrown in there, and all of a sudden it's like the filmmakers telling the audience, like, look at the person that you have started to like.
Well, do we start hating the filmmakers too?
That's again why I don't care about the filmmakers. They're just as bad.
They are just as bad.
They're just
they're enjoying themselves.
I think
not even at that point. Throughout the whole film, they're just as bad.
I want to take back what I said, because you just made a good point about the filmmakers. I think at this point, it brings attention to how horrible the filmmakers are.
Right.
So it drives that home.
They're horrible throughout the whole movie.
Well, no, I feel at first there's a slight reluctance. It starts off with just
they're following a murderer. You got to be a terrible person.
There is no slight reluctance involved. They agreed to follow a serial killer. That's it.
No, they agree to follow a serial killer. Do you think in the first scene, if they were just like, "Hey, rape this girl with us," they would have been like, "Yeah, let's do it"? Or do you think they would just be like, "Whoa"?
They have to have some. They have to have some kind of. They have to have some kind of like. Or ability to go that far.
Well, they've been through a lot at this point.
Right,
if you think
that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying the simple fact that they even agreed to follow a serial killer, watching killer,
absolutely,
proves that they're already fucked up a little bit.
They're already essentially creating a snuff film.
Yes,
they're creating a snuff film, but the participation that the film crew actually starts going on gradually gets worse. They don't start off and hit you right on the head with it. It gradually starts. Like at first, it's like we watch somebody die. Then we're gonna help him knock it off the
somebody
building.
to death.
Yeah, and then we're gonna, and then it becomes we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna hold this kid down while he strangles this kid, and then it's like
they were not reluctant at all to hold that kid down.
No, he moved right in.
I wouldn't say that he was reluctant.
I feel like that scene is probably they've already made that decision. because the rape scene later on
they've
just reinforces what they.
But here,
he's already helped kill a kid.
There is a difference. They're doing it with a smile on their face this time. This doesn't go from okay, well, let's help him out. This goes into I'm kind of enjoying this. This is kind of fun. Like,
yeah, that is the difference between those two scenes, because when they're in the house, you can tell he is slightly apprehensive to hold the kid down, but he does it.
Yes.
And then at that point, then it just descends into what you're saying is like enjoying it. You're so desensitized to the things that you've done that now this is you're pushing the boundaries that you didn't even know were there.
That has become the new normal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole point of the film. Is
Yeah.
what becomes normal, and that's like what
talk about
what man bites dog actually
means.
means.
Yeah,
and it's like when in journalism, man bites dog is a thing you don't hear about a lot. So journalism always reports on the really obscure and bizarre. So that quickly becomes the normal because all you read in the newspaper is, oh, this person cut this person's head off. Next day, this person cut this person's head off, and you think, wow, this happens all the time. This must be normal. And that's the whole. I think, that's the whole point of the film.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
And it's a good title, actually.
I do like the other
title.
The literal title is good. It's like this just happened next door. Like that's the literal.
It happens in your neighborhood.
It happens in your neighborhood or something like that. Yeah, like to assume that like this there's a demon right now behind you and he's doing stuff you don't know about it, but we're gonna show you, and now you're gonna see it as the new normal. Like, yeah, this happens all the time.
Yeah,
Chris, what were your dislikes?
Dislikes, lot of dialogue, I felt like, which is fine. I think I was more looking for the controversial things just because I feel like that's the hype that this film has been built into, and so I guess it felt a little slow. It felt a little slow sometimes.
Does that make it? So right, everybody's, and maybe this is where I can better explain myself. So we just talked about maybe like the deep meaning of the film, right, of what it is trying to say. But then again, you said there's a lot of dialogue and it's slow. Maybe that's where I'm having the disconnect of being entertaining, because I agree there is a lot of dialogue and it is a very slow film.
But I guess the only thing when you say the word entertaining, it's like I don't know anybody that's like I've seen this film 100 times and I love it. Like I've never heard a lot of people just like excitement.
Well, okay, a cult film is basically somebody who follows the film like a religion because they enjoy it that much.
I guess you're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. So obviously they have to be out there. This is not a film that I want to watch over and over and over again. But
that's what I'm saying. Like it's like if I'm gonna rate a movie, it's gonna be based off of like how I feel a movie should be, and I watch movies for entertainment, honestly. And that's me just being real. And I can see the artistic side of this, but I don't connect to a single part of it, which makes it hard for me to enjoy this movie. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like,
this is the moment where the snobby artist goes, well, you just didn't get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
And I do see that coming, and that's fine. Like, I understand. I'm glad you do, you sick, twisted fuck.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
The hypothetical Artie.
Yeah. Yeah. The snob.
I mean,
because I watched this movie and I was like, of course every film student loves this because film students made it, and it is and was a controversial film, and I see the art behind it, but at the same time, I looked at it like a fucking student art film. Boring.
I mean, I guess I more gravitate to arty films, so.
Yeah, I think that this is an art house film,
and I don't,
for sure.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I need to be completely entertained all the time.
It's a thought-provoking film. It's not,
But see, that's the other thing too. Like, I don't feel like my thoughts were provoked that much.
Well, it's like, why do you go to?
How can your thoughts be provoked that much if you're not paying attention?
Why do you go to a museum to look at paintings? Do you really?
I don't.
I'm entertained by but why do people do it?
Because they like boring shit.
Yeah, that's why art is so.
Now I know.
Yeah. I mean,
the veil
it's
has
the
been
same
pulled.
reason why you would go to a museum to see the Mona Lisa or something like that. It's to be
because you could say I saw the Mona Lisa.
No, it's not that.
That's what most people go to see. Like,
yeah, that's a bad example because that's more of a historical thing.
Okay,
it's a tourist attraction.
Let's say a Jackson Pollock painting.
Okay.
Why see a bunch of splotches if you don't want to have it to elicit an emotional response from you, whether it be sadness or happiness or any of the things that you go to see art for or read about? Like, why see a sad film? Why see a sad film? Is that entertaining to be sad?
Yeah, I guess it is to some degree.
I just
depends
know.
on your
I don't
mood.
know. I don't know if
I'm
it's
just never in
entertaining. I do like it when a film like I feel like I'm in the middle of the road because I can fully appreciate Cody's coming from. I can fully shut my brain off and just be entertained. And I can watch art house films and dramas and stuff like that and appreciate them and love the emotional response that I get. This film generated pretty much zero emotional response other than slight uncomfortableness and disgust at the rape scene, but that was it. The rest of the time I had no emotional response to this movie. It's boring.
So I'll take it back to why I felt like back to what I said. I think it's a commentary on humanity,
and that
and it thought provokes me. That's why I don't. Like I said, I don't want to watch this film over and over and over again. For me, it's Taxi Driver, but
I was gonna say when the movie did the same thing was The Mist.
Oh, I don't know.
What?
That is
what?
You might be right on that.
The Mist. The Mist does the same thing.
That is a tough film to watch.
The Mist?
Yes.
The Mist, yeah.
It does the same.
Stephen King.
Yes, it does the same thing, but with monsters. In the end, he kills his whole family for no reason.
I do not.
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't kill his kid for no reason. He kills it because he doesn't want to.
The Mist is like the Mist is like a hybrid between Night of the Living Dead and a classic monster film.
No,
you're stuck inside of a building while a bunch of terror is happening outside.
Yeah, with a evangelical evil lady who is
because
I
always took the
book. Also.
The point of that film is the monsters are
You're
inside
about the movie.
room,
Don't
not
be
outside
of
the room.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing. Of the monster is there. The film crew is actually the monster.
Yes, I can totally see a parallel with
that.
Yeah,
oddly enough.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
There you go.
Good response, Chris. You stayed
no,
neutral. On
I
that
guess
one.
Okay. So I guess what I take away from this movie is like, and this is not me getting into my rating or anything, but it can't be for everybody because there's going to be people there.
Definitely not.
There's going to be people that want to go see it because they heard it was controversial. That's going to be probably the easiest way to draw somebody in. You get into it, you're either going to like love it because you appreciate the artistic value and the filmmaking in itself and the creativity there, or you're not going to like it because you feel it's too boring and slow and it doesn't really it just doesn't do it for you because maybe you don't like black and white, because maybe you don't like so much dialogue. It's like there's always going to be a split with these kind of films.
I will tell you though, when I read the synopsis of this film, I was excited. I was really excited to watch it. I read the synopsis. I was like, okay.
Yeah, Mike told me he gave me a breakdown of like what the movie was about, and I was stoked to see it.
A film crew that's going to follow a serial killer. Cool.
Yeah, the thing that I take away from it is that I like the commentary on media that it proposes.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that because it's so true nowadays more than ever. Because like when this was made, like the reality shows that you had that were really big was like Cops. That was like
Real World. Yeah.
Not even Real World yet.
Was it 92?
92.
Was that the first year?
Was it Cops even?
Cops was like
definitely
88,
that's like
87.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's basically that same. Cops is a really good comparison because it's the same thing. You're watching these criminals. I mean, there's shootouts that happen. There's people who get shot on Cops. Like all that shit happened, and people watched and tuned in every week to see another disaster. And it's kind of the same parallel that's happening in this movie. Is you're watching the serial killer because you want to see a disaster.
And then in that perspective, do you think that the serial killer is the TV show and the film crew is the audience, and that they start to morph to mimic the show?
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair comparison.
Yeah,
I'd say so. Because that's the same. I mean, that's basically the same thing that happens nowadays, anyway. Yeah, people emulate the people they see on TV for good or bad.
The interesting thing about it is that a documentary crew is supposed to be making commentary on their subject,
and they're supposed
in this
to be
one. It goes commentary going to the subject that like boomerangs back to them and it now becomes a commentary on themselves. That's the interesting thing about it, because as a documentarian, you don't want to be part of.
You're not supposed to interact.
You're not supposed
to.
You're
just there to observe.
Yeah, you're just supposed to document something. You're not supposed to be an active participant in it. And that's exactly what happens in this film.
Regarde cette plume. Tu la vois? Elle est visqueuse. Parce que le mâle secrète une matière grasse et puante qui attire la femelle dans ses filets. C'est la nature. Pigeon, oiseau à la grise robe, dans l'enfer des villes, À mon regard, tu te dérobes. Tu es vraiment le plus agile.
All right, guys. So let's say we rate this thing. Mike, this is your choice. What are we rating it?
I'm gonna go with mating pigeons.
Mating
pigeons.
There you go.
Good luck making that one, Chris.
There you go.
What the hell does that even look like?
You got to figure it out on
You're gonna
Photoshop.
find it. Just
Oh, good. I get to Google this. Awesome. Thank you.
Mating pigeons.
All right, let's first start with Chris. I'm interested to hear what Chris has to say for his rating of Mating Pigeons.
All right, first time ever seeing this film, and I was looking forward to it for the reasons I mentioned. I heard it was controversial, and I'm always looking out for those kind of movies because I want my boundaries to be pushed, and I want to be shocked a little bit. So, went into it not knowing much about it, and honestly, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was, like we said, I thought it was thought-provoking. I liked the point of view. I liked the raw and grittiness of the black and white look. I thought the violence was effective, even though it really, by today's standards, wasn't that extreme. Honestly, I thought that rape scene looked pretty hokey. Like, I wasn't that affected by it. We've seen worse in films today, so that didn't really affect me that much. Overall, did it live up to what I thought it was going to be? Yeah, I think it's exactly what I thought it was going to be for 1992. So overall, I like this movie. I want to see it again so I can pick up more on his character and the dialogue and dig into it deeper. I'm going to give this 3.5.
Okay.
3.5 mating pigeons.
All right, next up, I'll go. So here's my thing. For me, I didn't care. And for it to be thought-provoking, I would have to care. Because it would have to get me to think. And I didn't care enough to even... I don't even want to say pay attention, because I paid attention. But I didn't care what was going on when I was paying attention.
How many times
did you care? Did you care or
care.
not care? I forgot.
No, I don't know. It's just driving the point home that that
you didn't care.
That to me, this film can exist and not exist in any way, and I don't think it would hurt me or harm me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's really hard to explain how I feel about this movie. I'm just gonna say that I give it 2.5 because I respect it as a film and when it came out and how it is. But would I ever watch it again? No. So 2.5, middle of the road.
That's better than I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised.
Well, because the reason I give it 2.5 is because I actually respect it as I can see the art. Don't get me wrong, guys. I can see the artistic side of this movie. I really can. They just didn't make me care about the artistic side of this movie at all.
Sure.
Just cut that snippet and make that my thing. Cut all
What?
the rest out.
That's what he wanted, just that one part.
Oh, I'm leaving in the I don't care. You said like 8 of them.
I
Those are
just
staying.
finished it with 9. That's why I said cut them all out. Next up, Mike, your pick. How many mating pigeons are you gonna mate this one?
You know what? Honestly, Chris, everything that he said, pretty much I have to shadow. Like, really, quite honestly. Other than the fact that this is not the first time I've seen the film, but yes, I feel the same way about how he felt as I do. Is that when I watch this film, I watch it to see the commentary, the artistic value of it. I think there are great shots in it. I think there are. It makes you see a side of humanity that you don't want to see, but that's the reason why you see these types of films, is because you want to push that boundary. So I'm going to give it 4 mating pigeons.
4 mating pigeons. I'll say I'm fat and
too
happy
high.
where I'm at.
That's too
Fat
high.
and happy. It's a good one.
That's why I don't want to push my boundaries. I'm happy and fat where I'm at.
Good for you.
I'm going to stay down here watching the Wiggles.
That's right. In the Wiggles house. Kyle, you're in the
Yeah.
Wiggles house. How many ratings are you going to give Mating Pigeons?
I am going to give this movie 2.5 mating pigeons, and my reasoning behind it is, as the film is presented, it is presented as a documentary, and it falls short because of how scripted it feels. It's not believable. It doesn't feel real. I will say the movie does have a message, and that is, like, as viewers, what are we willing to accept and be okay with for the people we idolize or look up to? And for that, I think it rings true so much now with so much crap on TV and reality TV and media that people are, like, idolizing all these fucked up people. So for that reason, I think the movie has some merit, and I think people need to watch it. and I think they'll kind of get what I'm going at on that one. But I'm going to stick with 2.5 because it does have merit in the film community. It did inspire a lot of filmmakers.
Definitely did.
So
here's my question:
middle of the road for me. What's your question?
Would you recommend this film to certain people? Like,
I would cherry pick who I recommended it to.
I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
I wouldn't recommend it to Cody because I would imagine I'd get the response that we got tonight, and he wouldn't get it. People who are you reacted just how I wanted.
What a
you
diss!
To.
I mean, I kind of
no, but there's certain people I would and would not recommend this film to because certain people just aren't going to like it.
Oh, I agree with that. I think this one. There's no middle of the road on this movie. There's no. I mean, we're kind of middle of the road, and only I think out of a film respect, we're middle of the road.
Yeah, but I'm not in middle of the road of like I kind of liked it, but
if this was like filmed shittily on like High 8, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I probably would be like, this is the worst turd fest ever. Blah 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 blah. But since it was shot on film and shot well. You
Mike
know what
looks
I mean?
like he's physically in pain when I said turd fest.
I have to give it middle of the road because I do understand the artistic merit to it and what they're trying to say, but also you have to make me care about what you're trying to say.
Yes,
and you didn't do that, so that's why you're middle of the road.
That's where you'll stay.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. You know what? Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at cultfilm_review. Follow us on Twitter at cultfilm_review. You can follow Mike at
Mike Salustio on Twitter, and you can catch my writing on film at friendlyneighborhoodfilmmaking.com.
Also, make sure you send in your picks for choices that you want us to review. Chris is raising his hand.
And a quick shout out to Chicks with Flicks. Thanks for checking out the show.
Oh yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks, we appreciate
We loved your
that.
show too.
Great show. All right, guys, make sure you check out their show because it is a really good show. And I'm gonna stop saying show because it's the end of the show, and I just repeat myself all the time and say the same words over and over again. That's it.